I have the good fortune of introducing a lot of really, really great people today. A lot of them are my personal friends, and they're people that I have worked with for years, both on the web or done speaking engagements with all over the place, and who I have a ton of respect for. These people are sometimes people with decades of industry knowledge, people that have made a lot of stupid mistakes and that have sort of survived through the valley of death or whatever. And the amazing part about that is just that, I mean, really the amazing part of all of this, there's so much going on that you don't have to screw up because other people have screwed up before you. Personally, that's the best part about being able to connect the Startup Festival, is being able to look at these people and go, like, tell me what I don't have to do. Tell me what to fix. Tell me what my solutions are to things that I never even thought of before. I saw some great talks yesterday, and so I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce these people to you today. The first speaker is Sheridan Jones, who started with Microsoft in 2001 and has held roles as Marketing Director, Chief of Staff, and her current position as the Director of Business and Strategy for Kinect for Windows. She's an entrepreneur. She owns 4 ponies, by the way, which sounds exactly like the kind of thing that someone plans out when they're 5 years old. She says, I want 4. It's very specific. And then she grew up and actually got these ponies, which is kind of awesome. But do not ask her about this because she'll be embarrassed. I shouldn't even be saying it. She spent 10 years running a business in the music industry, wearing multiple hats as creative director, record label, studio owner, and media strategist. She started her career at Apple Computer in Cork, Ireland, and holds an MBA from the University of Washington. She's also altogether amazing. I just spent some time with her backstage, and she's one of the best people probably to be able to introduce the second day of Startup Festival. Sheridan Jones, come on up to the stage.
Thank you very much. So for the record, I own 2 horses. I'm not sure if mathematically 4 ponies are equal to 2 horses, but if that's the case, then I passed the math quiz. So I want to talk to you today about a revolution that is happening in user interface, and in specifically in natural user interface, and what we're seeing with the Kinect, and specifically the area that I work in, which is Kinect for Windows. Go forward. Go forward. Interfaces evolve. That is going forward. So as we think about how we interact with computers, as we think about the new evolution of human-computer interaction, we first start with command line interfaces, and then we go to the graphical user interface that we saw in the 70s and 80s. And then we get to where we sort of are today, which is touch interfaces, right? So we have this new way of interacting with computers with touch, you see iPads, you see phones, you see slates. And the next revolution in human-computer interface is what we are seeing today with the Kinect and with other natural user interfaces like you could see here with XYZ technologies, with more gesture-based, and for us, voice-based as well. And that brings us to the Kinect. And the Kinect, when we introduced it in November of 2010, it was the fastest-selling consumer device in history. We sold 133,000 units of Kinect per day for the first 60 days that it was available. We now have an installed base of, I think, 19 million Kinect for Xboxes around the world. And as we saw what happened with this, it really touched off an amazing amount of interest and an amazing amount of momentum for people experimenting with where this could take computing next. And we asked ourselves, what would happen if we brought this to the PC? Because in those first days, when Kinect was first available on the Xbox, there were hackers all over the world that started to create really amazing experiences, really interesting things that we had not anticipated. And I've got a little video here that I'd like to show you that sort of captures for us that moment in time of what we experienced when we first saw Kinect on the market. So if we can roll the video, this we called the Kinect effect.
We started with a sensor that turned voice and movement into magic.
Xbox, play.
And we thought, this will be fun to play with. And it was. But something amazing is happening. The world is starting to imagine things we hadn't even thought of. Unexpected things. Helpful things. Beautiful things. Inspired things. Which is why, even though the world keeps asking us what we'll do with Kinect next, we're just as excited to ask the world the same thing.
So that last point is really where we are today, just as excited as everyone was when we introduced this amazing technology for gaming and for entertainment. Gosh, where are you guys going to take it next? We realize that the real innovation is going to come from the applications, from the startups and the businesses and the uses for Kinect beyond what we establish and where everybody else takes it. And I want to tell you a little bit more about what we're seeing out there today with this technology. So we believe that Kinect makes everyone a natural. When we first introduced Kinect for Xbox, the tagline was, "You are the controller." So how many of you have actually used a Kinect or are pretty familiar with the technology? Okay, great. A number of you have actually experienced the Kinect. For those that haven't, what it provides to you is gestureless control of either your Xbox or now your PC computer. So with a depth sensor and an IR field, with an RGB camera, with an array microphone system, your computer can now see and hear you and really respond to you in a three-dimensional space. So your computer begins to be able to understand you, and the applications that get built for the Kinect on top of the PC really enable a whole new experience, a more natural way of interacting with your computer. And we believe at Microsoft that this natural interaction that is enabled by Kinect is absolutely transformational for businesses and for end users to have new experiences. And because of this, we realize that Kinect is an enormous opportunity, a natural opportunity for companies like you all represent, for investors like you are, to be benefited by this new ecosystem and to participate in what we think is really revolutionary. We're building this future with lots of really, really big companies. As you guys can imagine, at Microsoft, we have lots of major customers that have been very interested in things that they could do with Kinect. And you'll recognize a lot of these companies that are doing some very, very deep experimentation with Kinect, and some are just experimenting a little more superficially right now. But all of them are participating in a program that we have called the Testing and Adoption Program. And we have just about 400 companies now from all over the world representing so many different industries, so many different use case scenarios that are really helping us to build the future. But we see clustering in specific areas. So there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of possibility in a few key scenarios. Physical therapy and therapy in general, so for learning and let's say for interacting with the computer for autistic children, for example. Healthcare is another area where we see an enormous amount of opportunity. So you see here, and you saw in the Kinect-Effect video, a physician, a surgeon who is actually using the gesture capabilities of the Kinect to look at an MRI during an operation. So the surgeon in the past would have had to have taken off their gloves and gone up to a computer keyboard and started typing in information and then scrubbed up again and then gone back to the patient. And that whole process could take up to 20 minutes. And if you're the person on the operating table, you do not want the surgeon to be away from you for 20 minutes. What's much better is this simple application of this gesture-based technology where the physician simply goes up to a display and gestures through the MRI. They can zoom in, they can zoom out. This was created by a company that is also part of our Kinect Accelerator that I'll talk to you about, called Gesture. And it's a Canadian company. We have a lot of innovation coming out of Canada, actually, for Kinect. There's something about Kinect and Canada that seems to be very special. But this Gesture company has created this, and this is in place today in Toronto at Sunnybrook Hospital. It's at the Mayo Clinic. And I would venture to say that this is a sort of thing that really can change the world. It's a very simple application of the Kinect outside of gaming, outside of entertainment. It's just one of the many, many examples that we have in healthcare. But you can see how a small thing can really start to change the world. Other really game-changing experiences that we see are in the retail space. So there are other companies that are looking at how you can have better clothing fit by having the sensor actually measure your entire body and say, hey, your arms are this long, your legs are this long, this is the perfect shirt for you, this is the perfect pair of pants for you, using this kind of technology. We have lots of these retail examples, as well as immersive retail experiences. So when you go into a store in the future, you'll be able to go through a whole catalog of items, just using your gesture, using your voice. You'll be able to have these more immersive shopping experiences, and we're seeing a lot of this today. Also in training, in education scenarios and in corporate training, virtual training, augmented reality, Kinect is a great fit in those sorts of areas. The big brands, they love Kinect. So we're working with lots of big companies like Nissan, who launched their new Pathfinder using a Kinect virtual experience. So they didn't have a car. They were at the Detroit Auto Show. They didn't have the Nissan Pathfinder to show people. They said, what the heck do? We want to show them something. We'll create a virtual experience using the Kinect. So a person can walk around the car, they can look up, they can look down, and they can really feel like they are in the car because of the interaction that they have with the Kinect. It's very, very natural. Bloomingdale's and Bodymetrics, I was telling you about companies that are imagining how retail and clothing fit can be changed with something like the Kinect. Mattel has created the Barbie Dream Closet. What little girl didn't want to wear all of the Barbie clothes when she was small? Now you can do that using the Kinect and something that Mattel has created. But I believe that the future is not going to necessarily be driven by these big brands. It's going to be by the startup companies, the innovators, the people who are on the bleeding edge, who will take risks and who have the vision and who have the guts and sometimes the good judgment or less than good judgment to just go for it, because this is bleeding edge technology. It's up to the innovators to push this technology where it's going to go. And so I want to show you some of the folks that are in our Kinect Accelerator. This is a way that we at Microsoft, with the BizSpark program, with an accelerator, an incubation company called Techstars, are supporting startups, much like you guys, in order to create these really cool experiences with Kinect, these really potentially very big businesses that are starting up in this incubation phase. So we had over 500 applicants to this thing that we called the Kinect Accelerator. They came from countries all over the world, 63 different countries, and we netted that down to 11 participants. We brought these 11 participants to Seattle for 3 months, where we mentored them, we worked with them, we gave them office space. I think we gave them each seed money of about $20,000. And at the end of those 12 weeks, they took their businesses that they had created to use Kinect, and they pitched it to VCs, and they pitched it to angel investors, and they shared it with Microsoft and with other companies for partnerships and for acquisitions. And I'm pretty positive that we're going to see some major new businesses that will come out of this accelerator program. And I'm confident that this is the sort of thing that we will continue to do to drive this innovation forward, to build this platform, to help this category to grow, and to enable, again, startups like you who want to invest your time and your passion and your innovation into these new types of technologies. We want to be there with you and help you to realize what is, again, an amazing revolution. So with the Kinect Accelerator and these 11 companies, we really are accelerating the future. But I want to talk about one particular company that is here today, because you can go and you can talk to them and you can follow their journey in creating a business that was enabled with Kinect, and that is Gentronics. Gentronics is a really wonderful new company who is creating physical therapy applications to help people that are recovering from stroke or other types of physical or cognitive challenges. They want to make physical rehabilitation more affordable, more accessible, and more engaging and fun, so there's better efficacy. And it started with a young man by the name of Justin Lin and his father, who is a very well-recognized doctor in his own right, suffered a stroke. He was on a plane trip from, I believe, New York to the UK, and he had a stroke on this plane trip, and he ended up having to go through a very, very long period of time of rehabilitation. And as Justin and his family were going through this situation, they realized that there were some real problems with the way that physical therapy is done today for a number of different reasons. It's hard to access physical therapy. So physical therapy applications, you have to go into a clinic, you have to meet with a doctor. Not everybody has the capability to do that. It's expensive. Not everyone has the medical insurance that Dr. Lin had in order to recover from his stroke. And lots of people don't have any access at all, either because they don't have the money, they don't have the insurance, or they just are physically removed from the kind of clinics that they would need to have access to. And it's also, physical therapy is really, really boring a lot of times. I recently injured my shoulder. I went to the physical therapy appointments twice before I gave up because it was so boring to just do this with my arm for no particular reason. I gave up, I didn't do it anymore. Many of you may have had the same sort of experience. And so Justin, looking at this, said, we can make this better. We can make this better with technology, taking the Kinect that they were familiar with as this consumer device and pairing it with clinical software. They worked with physical therapists to actually make clinical software with the Kinect to create these very engaging applications and exercises that they coupled with a web portal, a cloud-enabled web portal, so that the doctor can be remote, so that you can do these exercises and you can have this experience without actually going into the clinic, all using the Kinect and these applications that they built, and which you, by the way, should go and check out, because they really are very, very cool and a great example of what people are doing with Kinect today. And the solution that they came up with has been really well received. It is in clinical trials right now, and both the physicians and the physical therapists that are using it, and more importantly, the patients that are benefiting from this technology, from this application of Kinect and web properties and this great innovation that the company is coming out with, they are having better outcomes. And that's the sort of thing that we see as being enabled with this new technology. Technology is here to serve us, and this is a great example of how somebody is taking this platform that we have built. They have their own passion, their own ideas, they're building on top of it, and they're making this available to really be disruptive and change the world. We see this in just about every industry that you can imagine, and we think that the world of the future, where our computers really begin to know us and understand us, where our interactions with them are more seamless, are more transparent, and more natural, that is going to change the face of computing and the way that we interact. And in the 1990s, I remember there was a very popular Microsoft tagline. That tagline was, "Where do you want to go today?" There was a big ad campaign around this. But I think that a more important question that I would like to ask you, that the Kinect for Windows team would like to ask all of the developers, all of the engineers and Imagineers that are creating businesses, that are creating applications, that are witnessing and driving this revolution, where will you take us? And where can we go together with this technology? And that's just a little sampling of what's out there. Again, I hope that you take a look at what Gentronics is doing, and if you're interested, talk to them about their journey and think about how you can use this technology in the future. Thank you so much.